Welcome back, everyone. Tomorrow at noon, the NFL's legal tampering period begins, and then on Wednesday, it is the start of a new league year in the NFL. So it's about to get wild and crazy, especially when we talk about quarterbacks, because if you look around on Wednesday, Michael Penix Jr. is going to be the only one left standing. But let's talk about Kirk Cousins first, because he's getting released. What does that look like for Kirk's future? What do you think ultimately happens for him?
Well, there's always a team out there looking for a veteran quarterback, and Kirk Cousins does check a lot of boxes. It seems like there's some smoke, at least, to maybe a reunion with Minnesota, because they are a little bit unsettled under center as well, and Kirk Cousins could solve that problem. He's familiar with their offense. He knows a lot about what they're trying to do. Obviously, wins at the top of that list, but in terms of schematics, he would be a pretty nice fit for them. So I'd be intrigued to see if there's another team out there that looks for him, but there's always, 3, 4, 5 clubs that are looking for a veteran quarterback to come in and be the no-question starter. And I think Kirk would like to go to a place that says, you're our starter. We're not doing anything else to lead anyone to believe anything else.
Man, Kirk going back to Minnesota would just be so anticlimactic for him, That would be so frustrating. I know he loves that place, and it's always going to have a special place in his heart, but things obviously have not panned out at all how anyone thought they would for Kirk and for the Falcons. But when I talk about there only being one quarterback, that quarterback is hurt, Gabe. And you can't just roll with one quarterback anyways. You're going to have to find a quarterback elsewhere. Where do the Falcons look? Do they look in free agency? Do they look in the draft? How do they approach that position?
Yeah, it makes sense to find a kind of a stopgap option in free agency, right? And that's, we're looking at Kyler right now. My guess is that Kyler's going to go somewhere that's going to be more invested in him being an unquestioned starter, right? I think you're looking more at the Joe Flacco category. Obviously, there's some Stefanski familiarity there. I understand that's not going to excite anybody, but that's kind of where we're at right now with this team.
I wrote that down on our sticky note here at work. I'm just saying, Joe Flacco.
And Tua is another guy that when he's cut, you're seeing a lot of talk around him. That makes sense as well. A guy that can fill in, can push Mike a little bit without being clearly you're changing quarterbacks.
Assuming the Dolphins release him.
Assuming that the Dolphins release him, yeah. So I think that's the type of player that we're going to be talking about here. And again, that's not going to excite anybody, but if this is another tough year, if this is a year that Penix doesn't prove that he's your franchise guy, then we're going to be talking draft. We're going to be talking a bigger investment in quarterback next spring.
Yeah, what I think is the most intriguing about that is that this front office has zero allegiance to Michael Penix Jr. And that's not saying I don't wish that Michael Penix Jr. was the quarterback here. I hope that it works out for him. But these guys are going to look at all of the options moving forward. And perhaps that's Joe Flacco. I have nothing when it comes to that. I'm just saying that's what I wrote down on our sticky notes, so I want to be right. And people are digging up Kyler Murray's tweets from 2022 saying that the Falcons have a ton of weapons, so they want it to be Kyler. I don't know if it's going to be Kyler. We also know that the Falcons will be releasing Darnell Mooney. What exactly does that move say about what this front office thinks about the wide receiver position? Because they got a lot of holes in that room.
Yeah, they do. They clearly need a wide receiver too. They could use somebody else that could do some other things, whether that's a slot guy or somebody who could just kind of be the gadget man, if you want to call it that. But there's some case to be made, I guess, for doing it in the draft. But obviously, there's some free agents out there that could just come in and maybe just wow you on a year or two, schedule the same way that Mooney did. He just didn't live up to it last year. So what it says to me is accountability. We need to free up some money somewhere. We don't believe that this guy's going to be able to be what he was 2 years ago. We got to move forward. We got to find the next guy.
My Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan over here is saying Mike Evans come to Atlanta. It's never going to happen. I know you know that because he's going to be too expensive.
He won't leave.
Yeah, he won't. The free agent market for receivers, to your point, it is great this year, and so they will find definitely somebody in free agency for sure.